Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anne-Sophie. I'm a knitter from Belgium and these are my winter knitting plans. Normally, I divide up my year and my planning for each season into, well, as most people do, 4 groups of 3 months. And normally, my winter knitting would start in December and end in February. Now, December for me, I was mostly knitting on my fall knitting plans still, and I only cast on the first of my winter knitting plans aside from some tiny Christmas tree decorations, December 30th. Arguably, I'll be knitting that garment most of January, so I'm just gonna try out something new for 2025. I've kind of analyzed how my knitting plans and my knitting matched and didn't match in the past year, and what I noticed is I really organically create these transition periods. So I'm just always going to count a transition month this year. Let's say December was like a trial period where I sort of semi-transitioned from fall to winter knitting, and then my winter knitting plans will be mostly for January and February, and then in March I'll probably finish off the winter knitting, cast on some of my spring knitting plans already, do mostly spring knitting in April and May, and then June will be another transition month, and I'm feeling very good about this. I think this might work better than having the 3 months, which kind of stressed me out because it's really hard to like start and finish projects in the span of those months. I know these plans are like tentative and to give you an idea of things, but I feel like if I make plans flexible by definition, I feel less stressed and I feel less confined by my plans. So we're just gonna do that this year and I'll report back next year on how that went. My plans, as per usual, are properly delusional. I'll be talking through a lot of garments, mostly sweaters with you, and some accessories that I'd like to cast on. I do have an idea of which ones I'll be knitting for sure. I have yarn for everything except for the first thing I'll be talking about. And you know what? Let's just dive right into it. Oh, I forgot to say what I'm wearing. So I'm wearing my sweater number 18 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This is a drop shoulder, very big and wide sweater with 2x2 ribbing. Very pretty 2x2. Oh, my nails match the color in the hand-dyed yarn perfectly. I love that. I used WILLIAMSBURG hand-dyed fingering wool yarn, sock yarn, in the color Gazette. And I held 2 strands of raw white mohair from filcolana with it. I think the mohair is called tilia. I'll be talking about it a little more later on. I could not love this more. I knit the v-neck version. I knit it a tiny bit cropped. Yeah, and it's so cute. I love to wear it. I love wearing it at home or like just on a pair of dark jeans to go to work or to go outside. It's also really cute with like a mock neck tee underneath when it's cold. But yeah, I also wear it with like a lace bralette all the time because it's incredibly cozy and this mohair is so soft. Yeah. That's what I'm wearing. So first of all, in my cable knitting pattern roundup, I talked about the heart chain sweater by From Mayo and how I really wanted to cast that on this January for Valentine's Day because it has like this little heart chain as the name implies. And I was talking about maybe hosting or organizing a little knit along or a cal. It would be quite unofficial, just like because I've never done anything like this before. I was just thinking of creating a little group chat of all of the people who want to join me in knitting this, and then we can send each other updates, help each other to pick out the yarns and whatnot. And I would have sent out an announcement for that early on in December normally, but someone ended up reaching out to me in the comments of that video saying that they would love to join, but unfortunately the size range wasn't wide enough enough for them to join the CAL should I organize it, which obviously is a huge pity, for sure an oversight on my part, for which I apologize, but evidently I would not want to host a CAL, which would be excluding people. So after getting that information, I decided to reach out to the designer and first of all ask her whether she felt comfortable with me hosting a CAL, and then to ask her whether she would be releasing more sizes or be open to people test knitting bigger sizes should they want to be part of the knit along or just knit it in general, because I feel like a lot of small designers have trouble finding testers in bigger sizes, and I thought maybe this was the issue. Yeah, I just suggested that, and then the designer happily informed me that they were already testing the bigger sizes at that point in time, and they asked me whether I'd want to wait with organizing my CAL until they have those out. They said they were aiming for late January, early February, but I'm thinking like this is so much work and it might even be later. So now I don't exactly know what I want to do with my knit along plans. I really want to knit this sweater, but it'll probably be like after Valentine's when I cast it on or when the CAL starts. And given that it's a cable sweater, it might take a while to knit and it might be on the needles for people well into spring, for some people maybe even into summer. So I wouldn't mind knitting this in like late winter, early spring. I think it would be lovely. I know I wouldn't get a lot of wear out of it until like the fall, but I think it looks like a really nice pattern to be knitting at that time. I just wanted to ask you guys what you think about this, whether you would want to knit this at the end of winter, start of spring, or whether you would like me to wait to organize a CAL in the fall for a cabled pattern like this. Let me know what you think in the comments below or on Instagram. That said, I am including it in my winter knitting plans just because I might be knitting it at the end of winter, and I'm very glad to do so because this is hands down the prettiest sweater pattern I have ever seen in my life. So the heart chain sweater is a chunky all over cabled knit. It has a variegated set of cables all over, but sports these heart chains on the sides and a huge diamond with like a seed stitch or something with pearls in the middle of the diamond or on the inside. It has 2x2 ribbing, my favorite, and it's knit on quite large needles. The suggested yarn weight is a worsted weight plus a thread weight or a lace weight, which gives you a worsted according to Ravelry. You should be able to hit a gauge of 16 stitches by 23 rows with that in stockinette stitch on 5.5mm needles, which makes me think this is a relatively quick cabled knit compared to some other cabled garments that I've been knitting. Shout out Haru cardigan, which took me ages and so much patience and kind of put me off cables for a second, but I think this one might really help me get back into it. It's a drop shoulder design with a crew neck and I think not too many decreases on the sleeves. It's quite oversized, which makes it look super cozy. I want to put on this sweater to go and study in like a very old dusty library. So the final bust measurements of the garment for now range between 104 and 128 centimeters or 40 and 50 inches. I think I've got my mindset on using my favorite yarns, as this is like the prettiest pattern I've ever seen, so I feel like I might allow myself to splurge. I might use Knitting for Olive heavy merino and soft silk mohair for myself for the first time in like a rose clay heavy merino and use the Knitting for Olive dusty rose mohair with that. I saw that yesterday in my local yarn store. I'll insert a picture. Kind of looks like the heavy merino and rose clay is basically the same color as the dusty rose. They also had filcolana tilia in antique rose, which I could hold with filcolana peruvian in antique rose. They don't carry that at my local yarn store, so I haven't seen that in real life, but they did have arwetta in that color. My knitting friend that I met on Instagram and then met in real life yesterday by going to the yarn store and heading out for brunch, she bought the arwetta and the tilia in the antique rose to make like a little hat, and this is the prettiest color I've ever seen. I feel like it's a bit more vibrant and a tiny bit more neutral, warm leaning than the dusty rose, which is a very, very cool toned, very grayed out, very desaturated rose. So I'd probably use one of those colors because I mean it has hearts and it's very cutesy and Valentine's-y, and if I'd be knitting it in February, I think I'd love to use those colors for that sweater. Should it be that we move the cal to the fall, I'll probably end up knitting it in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino and Mohair in the color Cloud, which is a pinkish toned white, or Dusty Petroleum Blue, which would look so fall and wintry and so cute. I can't see myself knitting multiple versions just to have multiple colors, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking for that right now. I think that's the only sweater in my knitting plans for which I don't have yarn. So now everything I'm going to show you I will have yarn for. So I've cast on one thing, as I hinted at before, and that is a gift knit for my dear colleague but mostly friend Magda, who's defending her PhD later this month. And as I did with my other bestie colleague last year in January, I offered to knit her a sweater as a gift, and she paid for the yarn. I gave her all of these yarn options for different budgets, and we went to a yarn store where they held the yarn that looked the nicest to her. We checked out the colors and we got these. She really wants a sweater number 25 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and this is like many of My Favorite Things Knitwear's patterns lately. One of those patterns where she tells you to use like fingering and 2 lace yarns, or like 3 lace yarns and a fingering and blah 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 to get like a certain weight. And I'm very happy that in Ravelry it says like lace plus fingering plus lace is worsted or something like that, because the total outcome would be a worsted gauge for this pattern. And the gauge you're supposed to hit is 15 stitches by 22 rows on 6mm needles. So I just got worsted weight yarn and mohair to hold together, and I hit gauge with 5.5mm needles instead of 6. The color Magda picked is something I would never work with myself. It's absolutely stunning. It's the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the color Bark. It's a neutral warm tone. I feel like it's appearing a bit more warm than it is actually on camera, because she tried multiple warmer colors, but this one really won. It's not too warm, it's neutral enough. She's a soft autumn, we're thinking, and it looked majestic on her. Since this pattern is a very oversized, chunky, drop shoulder, roll neck, turtleneck pattern, it really had to be a color that suited her very well, you know, because it's going to be so high up against her neck. Yeah, I'm so excited to be knitting this for her. At this point, I've almost finished the yoke. I wasn't going to show you, but let me just get it because I feel excited now and I want to show it. I told myself I should go film and stop knitting once I ran out of yarn, and really stretched that out there to get a finished panel. I still have some mohair. This is how far I got with 2 balls of the heavy merino, or 3. I'm not even sure anymore. That's how much I've knit on this. This is how much I got done on the yoke after about like 4 or 5 afternoons or evenings of knitting, which is just phenomenally quick, and I'm glad because I postponed this very much. The drop shoulder is created with German short rows, and in this yarn it looks so neat. It's absolutely stunning. This is the softest, most bougie thing I have ever felt, and I am again so thankful that my friend has bougie fabric taste and is like a crafty girly herself, so she appreciates these things. Almost on the front panel, I can almost join these 2 beauties. It's not looking too cute because I never really put anything on hold when I'm knitting a drop shoulder yoke. I just go ahead and knit it all together and then I can join because I'm lazy. Knitting a size medium because that was going to fit her bust size. I think it's going to be perfectly oversized. Ta-da! I'm visiting her not this Friday but next Friday, and I want to knit like as much of one sleeve. I want to knit the roll neck and as much as possible on the body after that to have her try it on, see what the length says and whether I need to make adjustments or not. Because last year I had to take back my colleague's zipper sweater that I knit for her defense because the sleeves were way too short, and I am not making that mistake again. As with most My Favorite Things Knitwear's patterns, the sizing is quite inclusive. It goes up to 4XL. I don't think there's much more to say about this sweater. It's just a really basic sweater. The pattern is perfectly written out. Whenever I do gift knits, I always try to pick my favorite things knitwear or petite knit patterns, or I only send out those links because then I can be sure that I'll limit the amount of unforeseen issues I encounter while I knit the project. I've been a bit unlucky with that in the past year. I tried to branch out, use new yarns, knit from different designers, then always petite knit and my favorite things knitwear. And I've noticed that it's very hard for me to make proper gauge swatches and actually count and do the math to make a garment fit well and look nice. And then I knit an entire garment and it ends up being a bit of a flop. So 2025 is going to be the year where I research thoroughly whenever I branch out and knit from new designers or use new yarns, and I'll probably go back to my trusty yarn brands a bit more again this year because I need to come down from all the chaos I had with my whips, which I'll update you on later. I'm going to do a video where I go through all of the whips, there are many whips, that I'm taking into the new year with me. But that's my first whip already for this season. My next knitting plan for this winter is actually something I'm going to be casting on tonight with my knitting friends, Maddie from True Summer Knits here on YouTube and also on Instagram, and Victoria, who's Blank Stitches, here on YouTube and also on Instagram. We wanted to knit something together and do like little knit nights. We all have like a very similar but also very different style, so it was quite a tricky endeavor to like find something that all three of us wanted to knit, would like to wear, especially because Maddie lives in a very different climate in the south of the US. I don't know how we did it, but we did end up picking something. We're gonna knit either the pearl jacket or the pearl sweater. It's not exactly the same pattern, it's a different gauge, but we were all meeting like some gauge issues and stuff, so it could be that some of us knit the pearl sweater, but originally we were gonna do the jacket by Helene, beba or garn slikt. I'm gonna go for the jacket. I'll talk about the pattern first and then I'll talk about the lore with my yarn choice because there's a lot to talk about. The pattern, first of all, it's a beautiful drop shoulder cardigan. It sports full-on broken rib all over the garment. It has relatively wide sleeves. It kind of looks to me as if there's no decreases. I bought the pattern already, but I didn't check. I'll let you know later once I'm knitting it. And it has a double knitted button band. It's not cropped, it's like hip length in the project pictures of the designer, and it calls for a lace weight held with a DK, but the gauge is 18 stitches and 26 rows on 5mm needles. That is not a gauge I can get with a DK. I struggled a bit. The sizes range from an extra small to a 2XL, and the circumference ranges from 106 to 137 centimeters or 41.75 to 54 inches. I think I want mine quite positive easy. I don't know which size I'm gonna cast on just yet though. I did hit gauge perfectly with the yarn I ended up choosing, so I might just go for exactly my size so it hopefully fits like it does fit Helena on her project pictures. Maybe that's just the best way to go. But yeah, yarn lore. My first idea was to frog this bad boy, finally. This is an Ingrid sweater. It's been lying around for like 2 years. I just finished the yoke and then quit knitting on it. It's too thin for my liking. Like, it's very drapey. The ribbing doesn't look neat enough to me. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. That just kind of irks me and annoys me. The fabric feels amazing and wonderful, but I don't think that's what I want for an Ingrid sweater. I think I'm gonna knit one with like a worsted weight thick wool at one point and not finish this. I don't want to put in all the work and then not like it that much. I'd rather frog this now, use the yarn for something different, and knit an Ingrid sweater that I will absolutely love later. So the yarn I used or was using, I don't know, I have for that is Filcolana, one of my favorite yarn brands, Pernilla and filcolana tilia. One thing why I also stopped knitting on the Ingrid sweater is because filcolana doesn't have like a marzipan colored mohair, and on Ravelry it looked like this matched perfectly. In some light it does, and it looks perfectly marzipan-y, but in other light it looks really warm. It looks a bit more warm in real life than it is on camera now, but oh no, now on camera it looks quite warm. I don't necessarily like the look of that on me. Ta-da! So I wanted something with a v-neck to use this yarn so that it wouldn't be too close to my face. The v-neck cardigan seemed perfect, but the gauge wasn't. So the pernilla is I called it a DK earlier because I hadn't like consciously looked at it and used it since I was knitting on that Ingrid sweater, and I thought it was a DK because Petite Knit suggests it for the Ingrid sweater alongside like the Jensen yarn by Isagir, which Garn Slikt suggests for her pearl jacket pattern, but these are just completely different gauges. So if you use this is like more of a heavy fingering borderline sport weight. Petite Knit said you need a DK. I was like, oh, this is a DK. And then I just didn't think any further on it later until like Victoria pointed out to me that it is definitely not a DK. And well, my gauge swatch, it's so soft. It's such a nice fabric. But yeah, this swatch does not at all look how I want it to look. The stitches are super slanted. I think the mohair kind of stops them from falling into place. I always have this issue, and tightening pearls doesn't seem to help enough with this yarn. That and my gauge wasn't perfect, and I already sized down my needles to 4.5 millimeters instead of 5. Normally with a broken rib, the lines of knit stitches pop really much, and they kind of do pop here, but not enough. Yeah, I didn't like it enough. And this pernilla that I love is a 100% Peruvian Highland wool in like a heavy fingering weight. It's basically the little sister of filcolana's Peruvian, which is a worsted weight Peruvian Highland wool, and I ended up getting this instead. To give you a better idea of the yarn weight for the pernilla, it's 175 meters per 50 grams. It's very pretty. It's very soft. I love the fabric. I'm just not going to use it for this pattern, probably for something else in the spring. Still a v-neck cardigan. I was thinking of a Paul cardigan by Morika Knit. That would be nice. So I went to my local yarn store with Freya's Knits, who I met on Instagram yesterday. She lives in a different part of Belgium, and we got along online really well, and then we ended up hanging out, and it was so nice and so fun. And she helped me pick out this color. Well, I was already sort of peer pressured into getting this by Victoria and Maddie, but yeah, she told me it was cute too. She did kind of agree with me, I think, that it is a bit of a greenish light blue. This is the Rime Frost color. It is very out there for me. I prefer like cool toned icy blues and like soft desaturated blues, but this one is like, it's like a greenish bubblegum blue. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like I love it and I hate it at the same time. And I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it in a cardigan. And I especially don't know what kind of buttons I'm gonna have to get with this, because I knit a pink cardigan earlier this year and I still haven't found any buttons for that. So this is gonna be interesting, but it looks so fun and it looks so cool and it looks so like winter fairy-esque in terms of color that I've just decided this is gonna be my vibe this winter, because I'm gonna be knitting with like the very warm, beautiful color that I never get to knit with because it doesn't suit me. And then on the side, I'll have like my wintry, snowflakey Rime Frost, as this yarn is called, Dreams. The number of this yarn is 281. Online it looks a lot greener than it is in real life. This is it. I'm going to be using this. It's a worsted weight. You get 100 meters per 50 grams, and I hit gauge perfectly. I knit this yesterday. It's still like a little bit slanted, but not too much compared to my other swatch. I feel like I definitely prefer the blue one over the pernilla one. It looks much more structured, especially since like the mohair just flattens it all out, whereas this is like from this side it still looks amazing, whereas the mohair one, it's kind of like flattened out, if you get what I mean. I think this was a good call. I ended up copying Victoria because she's also using the filcolana Peruvian, but I think it was also like the only yarn in my local yarn store. Wolder, go there if you're from Belgium. It's an amazing store. They have almost all of the knitting for olive colors, which I love to see those in real life. But yeah, so I made this and I'm so excited. I think it looks cute. Yay! The next pattern I will for sure be casting on this winter is also out of my comfort zone, but also very colorful, wintry, ice snow fairy princess-ish. I am knitting another sweater, this time for my other cousin as a Christmas gift. I need to use 15 millimeter needles. Yes, I said it. My cousin wants a chunky sweater. I'm going to both hate my life and love my life because this is going to knit up so fast and also hurt my hands so much. But maybe I'll even be able to do like I knit a sweater in a weekend vlog or something by how fast this is gonna knit up. She was looking through Petite Knit and my favorite things in knitwear and she didn't really find anything she liked, and she said I want something really chunky, and I knew where to look. If we're talking about chunky sweaters, the chunkiest sweaters I see on Instagram and Ravelry are almost always designed by Kara Eng, and we went and looked for chunky sweaters on Ravelry, and lo and behold, who popped up? Kara Eng. So my cousin just saw this Williamsburg sweater. We scrolled past it and we had to like look at it immediately, and she was just like, that one. It's a sweater in which the designer Kara Eng is wearing a very oversized extra large version that she knit in this bubblegum pink. It's all over cabled. It's so chunky and I think it's gonna suit my cousin so well. It's gonna look amazing. She has like quite dark hair and she even dyes like the bottom of it pink, and yeah, I don't know, it's gonna look so cute and I'm so excited to knit that for her. Well, to stay within our Christmas knitting gift budget, I did have to use drops yarn. It was quite a challenge finding yarn for such a sweater that was so chunky within budget because it's knit on 15mm needles and what's it called for? Super bulky weight with a gauge of 8 stitches and 10 rows. Oh my god. The suggested yarn is obviously like Wool in the Gang, Crazy Sexy Wool, or We Are Knitters The Wool. I've never actually finished. I started a chunky sweater when I just started knitting a long time ago. It was knit flat and I never finished all my panels or sewed it together. I haven't checked whether this one is going to be knit flat or not. Let me see. Okay, so you knit flat and in the round according to the Ravelry page, which makes me think the body is knit flat and then the sleeves are cast on in the round. I might just modify it and join the body in the round. Yeah, it's a drop shoulder, I think. It looks like a drop shoulder, so I'm thinking I'll modify it if it's knit flat. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna knit that. In drops snow. My cousin picked the lavender color. The polar bear is so adorable. It's like unspun, kind of like the Crazy Sexy Wool by Wool in the Gang. It's like lightly spun, very fluffy. I hope this will hold and wear nicely. If it doesn't, I'll just knit her another one. It's color 54, lavender. Making me very happy. I think it looks super duper cute. What is this weight? It's 50 grams and you get 50 meters of 100% wool. Calls for a 9mm needle. I'm assuming I'll be fine with my 15mm needles, and otherwise I'll hold it double. We'll just see. I haven't made a gauge swatch yet. I might struggle with this, but I don't have the needles right now because I'm gonna get them from a friend. Well, a friend, my best friend. She's lending me her needles. She's so sweet. That's that plan. We'll see how that goes. I don't exactly know how I feel about it. I hope she's gonna be happy with the finished product, and I hope I am going to enjoy knitting with this. It feels softer than I thought it would, which is good. We love to see that. So my partner's grandmother used to knit a lot. She doesn't anymore because of arthritis, which is basically my biggest fear. But she ended up gifting me a whole box of lana grossa yarn, which is very fancy, and it's like filled with beautiful little scraps that I could use for little thingies or ornaments that I want to knit, but also 10 balls of this. This is the softest thing I have ever felt in my life. Ever. This is 40% Angora yarn. Angora is from these fluffy little bunnies and it's nearly impossible to ethically produce. So this is a kind of yarn I was never going to buy for myself, but getting it secondhand for free is just, I'm so lucky, and I'm feeling so lucky and so blessed that she wanted to share this with me. It's the color 4. It's no longer made. It's called Principessa and it's with merino and baby alpaca. I think it's 40% Angora, 30% virgin wool, 14% alpaca, and 9% nylon. Wait, why did they say with merino and baby alpaca? But here it says virgin wool. It's probably virgin merino wool then. That's really cool. And you get 62 meters for 25 grams, which makes me think it's like an Aran weight heavy DK situation. But oh god, it's so soft. It's so fluffy. I have 10 balls. I didn't really know what I wanted to knit with it. Maybe like a knitting for olive puff tufty or Carly tee or something because it suggests 5 to 6 millimeter needles, but I could do 4 maybe because I'm generally like a loose knitter. But Maddie from True Summer Knits ended up doing like some research for me very excitedly. She's so sweet. I was thinking of like a wrap top and stuff, and she started looking into like the ballerina wrap top, I think too, and she sent me all of this inspo, and I've just set my mind on a wrap top. I think I'm either gonna knit, because I have a Robinson wrap cardigan already, but I think I'm either gonna knit like a ballerina wrap top because it's a bit more simple, and I'll use Florence Miller's modifications that she did to hers to have long sleeves. I might do sleeves without decreases to get them like cute and wide, or something else I might do, and now I need to grab my notes. So there's a Ravelry user called MIZ511 or Ms511, I'm not sure, who modified Florence Miller's Robinson wrap cardigan to knit like a little cardigan that just goes straight down with I-cord details and an I-cord tie in the front and like a little v-neck like the Robinson wrap cardigan has. It's like a raglan tight-fitting wrap cardigan, but for her it's like a raglan tight-fitting just tie front cardigan, and she knit like sort of straight bell-ish sleeves on hers and just finished everything off with I-cord instead of ribbing. It looks so cute and so amazing, and I think I might be able to whip one of those out with the 10 balls of this I've got, and that would be so adorable to wear over like my anthracite gray t-shirts that I have, or even white tees or white tops. So I'll probably either do that or a ballerina wrap top with this yarn if I have and find the time, and otherwise that'll probably be spring knit because I'm so excited about this yarn. It's so beautiful and fluffy. I'm so grateful. I have lots of accessory yarns. I put myself on an accessory yarn buying ban, so I'm just gonna go through them and quickly say what I'd like to knit with them just vaguely. I'm not gonna really discuss the patterns in depth because I don't want this video to be too long, and knowing myself, I'll probably get like distracted and knit something else. My accessory yarns kind of show like my vision for my winter color palette, so I'm just gonna show them to you. I got some Sunless Garn Double Sunday a while ago in the color Kit to test out the color, but to also just buy 2 skeins of this to knit a little hat. Probably a weekend hat by Petite Knit, like a ribbed hat would be really cute to wear with my white Berlin scarf, because I've noticed I don't really have a hat that goes with that, and I think that would look really cute on me. I also have Sunless Garn Perfect, which you've seen before, in the color Eucalyptus, and I really finally want to cast on this pair of DK weight socks for myself. I want to knit the Flower Knot Socks by Laura Moratz, which is an all over cabled flowerish detailed sock and is gonna look so cute. If I cast on an accessory, it's probably gonna be one of these because they're gonna be quick and I want to wear those ASAP. I also have these adorable, colorful, what do you call this shape? Cakes, I don't know, worms of Lang Yowl. I got this green a while ago, which is color 83, and no, not 83, color 830191 and color 830324. They're pretty. I like them. It's a superwash yarn with like reinforcement thread inserted on the inside. With this one, I want to knit close to spring, like probably in March. I want to cast on the 3 leaves socks for my 52 weeks of socks book and knit something cute and leafy and springy. This is so wintry to me. Like this just screams sugar plum fairy princess. I think I'm gonna knit Sari Noodlin's Midnight Dancer socks with this. It has like the clover eyelet pattern all over and a little ruffle too. So cute. That's kind of like my color palette this winter. This is the vision. This is what we're going for and how we're feeling this winter. Including my gift knits, it'll look like this. And I don't know, but my little winter color palette, it screams winter to me this season. I'm very happy with the yarns I've selected to have ready in stash to knit with this season. All right, and that's everything I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I hope this was inspiring or entertaining at least. I'd love to hear what you guys think of my plans, which ones you would like to see me knit up the most or first, whether you have any other ideas for me with my accessory yarns, if you see that color and you think, no, this has to become this pattern, please tell me. I love to get to know new patterns all the time. I'd also love to hear what you guys are working on right now, because those are kind of my favorite comments to get. If you haven't yet, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. That would help me out a lot. Yeah, I'll see you very, very soon for my Everything I Knit in 2024 video. Bye bye.